and welcome to part 7, I think we are now, on this Inky Ivy Castle Forest colour along. So up until now we've done every single element on the colouring page and we could just leave it as it is. It's totally fine if you want to do that. But everybody seemed to vote on the poll that they wanted this beautiful night kind of sky background. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do as much of it as possible, and it'll probably take another video or two to actually finish the whole thing. But we did make a start last time on there. I don't know if any of you have actually continued that and finished it. Nobody's sent me a picture yet on any of my social media, so I don't think anyone's done it, but we're going to go through it all together anyway and do it in real time. So as I explained in the last video, we're going to be using the Prussian blue, the light ultramarine, white and black from the polychromos if you're using those. Now I'm just going to zoom in and we're just going to continue what we started last time and work our way outwards from there. So you can put the black away for a little bit and start with your darkest colour, which is the Prussian blue. Now, all you have to do is, if you remember last time I showed you the technique, go really nice and hard right up against the line of the piece of artwork that you're going around. So for instance, this tail. So really nice and hard. And we want to make sure we've got quite a thick layer of that Prussian blue because we really want that to stand out. I think that's what helps to create that glow as well. If you've got like quite a lot of a deep area and it goes straight to white, that really helps with the glow. So nice big thick area of the Prussian blue. And then nice light pressure as we're coming out of that so that we can blend in with our light ultramarine. So a nice light pressure. Don't be too concerned about the stars for now. We might even paint those in a kind of opaque gold paint or gel pen. So don't be too concerned about going over them at the minute. If you do want to be more precise and not touch them, please feel free to. I'm just very messy, as you know. So once you've got that scumbled, lightly pressured area to blend into, you can grab your light ultramarine and blend into that Prussian blue. So again, I'm using quite hard pressure just to blend the area together. But as I move outward, we're making that pressure nice and light. Now, how far we go with this, with it being on an edge, it's up to you how far you want to take it. You might want to colour the whole of the page, but I'm just going to make it look a bit glowy and a bit faded out. So it's not going to cover the entire page right up to the spine. It's going to glow a little bit. So we've got a nice graduated blend there. We're then going to take our white and go over, excuse me, all of the light ultramarine to try and get that glowing effect, and it's going to burnish the pencils down so that we have a nice glow. These side pieces are quite awkward because you're getting it to blend out into nothing. There's nowhere for you to stop. So it's just a matter of messing around with it and adding a bit more colour where you think so. If you think the lines are a little bit too dark and you need to lighten them up, you can probably go back in with your light ultramarine and just do very, very light feathery touch right on the edges to try and get rid of any harsh lines that you can see. Now once you've done the main bit of the white, you can go back in with your Prussian blue, because that may have been faded a little bit by the light ultramarine. You can go back in and darken that up, thicken it out. Again, just getting a bit lighter as you come away from the inside edge. And again with the light ultramarine, another layer to blend it out. So it is a bit time consuming this, it's why I was a little bit reluctant to do a background, but it's one of those things we're just going to have to take our time on and bear with, because I think it's going to look really good. So once you've sort of got it happy with where you're happy with where you've put it and how it looks, you want to use a bit more white to, again, just get that blend a bit more seamless. You can then go in with your black that you put to the side earlier. You can either do this straight away or you can leave this step right till the end. But we're basically just doing a very thin, narrow line of black right up against the edge of the illustration. And that just serves to further darken the look of the Prussian blue and the overall contrast. Just using the Prussian blue very lightly over that black so it looks nice and blended. So it's basically just that all the way around, just blending out wherever you like. But I think with this tail area, because both sides and the top of the tail are all really dark, I might just colour that in the Prussian blue, and that can just be a really dark area behind there. It'd probably be a bit awkward to do anything else with it. So just using the Prussian blue to block colour around the tail, and then fading it out as we come toward this end. What you can do is go over the Prussian blue with a light layer of black just to deepen it. There we go, I think that looks pretty good. So I hope you've all had a nice week so far. It's Friday. I think I did my last post on Monday. So not seen you all week, so I hope you've had a nice week. I've not really done anything to shout about this week. It's been mostly housework, looking after the kids, and they've now they're going to break up today from school for a week's holiday. So today is their last day, and I thought I'd get this video in before they break up so that I've got a bit of peace and quiet to get this one out. And yeah, so it's my 30th birthday on Tuesday, which I mentioned in the last video. So I'll be taking the kids out with me for a family meal or something along the lines of that. I don't know what anybody's got planned, if anything, but I'm thinking we'll probably all go for a meal. And yeah, Max is loads better. Thank you to everybody that's asked. His spots are going every single day, they're reducing down now, and he feels loads better. But today I got a text from my mum, who lives 10 doors away from me, so we live really close together. And my little sister, who's 6, actually came out last night with a tummy bug, sickness, and the other one. Now, any of you that have read my story on my blog, the little about me section, you'll know that I actually suffer quite terribly from emetophobia, which is a phobia of sickness, being sick, feeling sick. And it's not just a case of I don't like being sick. Nobody likes being sick. Phobia, it's a lot stronger and a lot sort of deeper than that. I get really, really freaked out, panic attacks, if I think that, you know, I'm going to be sick or anybody around me is sick. So today's not been a great day, to be honest, because all I'm thinking is, I wonder if we'll catch it. Because my little sister, her name's Melissa, she was here yesterday evening, in the pool. We've got a 10-foot paddling pool in the garden that the kids absolutely love in this hot weather. And she was actually here for a couple of hours yesterday playing in the pool, and she seemed totally fine. And then it's after she went home last night that she started with the bad stomach. So obviously I'm worried now that all the time that she spent here yesterday, she was ill. And, you know, I mean, you probably, unless you've got a phobia or a real fear of something or anxiety disorder, you probably won't know how distressing it is to have these constant thoughts and fears sort of taking over your life, taking over your brain. You're constantly thinking about it. And especially so when somebody close to you actually gets it. So I'm hoping and praying that none of us actually get it. Now, my sister has very kindly booked myself into a spa the day before my birthday. And it's an overnight thing, so I'll be back on my birthday. But the spa is around about an hour away from here, and with my phobia, I'm always worried that I'm going to get ill when I'm out. Because a lot of the times with sort of stomach bugs and things, you don't actually know that you're ill until you're being sick, and, you know, it happens very quickly. And obviously with incubation periods and things like that, you can be ill before you even know you're ill. So I'm kind of worried now. I'll probably be quite anxious, which is totally the opposite of what you go to a spa for, of course. But I'll probably be quite anxious the whole time now that possibly might be ill. But because it is Friday and the spa isn't till Monday, at least I've got a good 48 hours, a bit more, to see if anything comes out in the kids or me, which I'm really desperately hoping that it won't. But yeah, that's my nice little thoughts for today. I'm afraid I haven't got anything particularly happy to tell. That's just how I'm feeling today. Obviously, explained in my story as well that I suffer from depression, so that this kind of situation really does not help. You have to be super careful going around all these elements. I don't know how it's going to work out. So if it doesn't look like quite like you wanted it, I am sorry. I'm doing this on spec, really, playing it by ear. So we'll see how we go with it anyway. If I've got any doctors or nurses on here who would like to offer advice about this whole situation, very much appreciate it. I think that I read somewhere that you're not actually contagious until you start being sick or whatever, which she didn't actually until she got home. So I'm sort of clinging on to that hope at the moment. See, anybody who doesn't suffer with this would just be a bit like, oh yeah, you get ill, you get better, that's it, what's the big deal? But it really is like a worst nightmare scenario if you have emetophobia. So I'm just going over all this with layers and layers. Now, if there is any sort of bits that you're not happy with, any parts that look a bit wrong, like for instance, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's like a line across here that's appeared. We will be covering it with stars and white gel pen. So if there's any like areas that you're not happy with, just make sure you cover it up with the white gel pen and we can disguise it a little bit. Thanks for all your comments, by the way, on the last video when I was talking about being 30 and being quite concerned about turning the big 3-0. I had loads of messages from you all. A lot of people felt in the same position, but as they grew older, they sort of just got a bit more chill about everything, really. I think that's generally what happens when you get older, isn't it? And leaving your 20s, it's a big thing, actually. It feels like a big thing to me to leave my 20s. But as my mum keeps saying, at least you're not 50. Because she's 54, 53, I think. And she wishes she was 30. But she also said at the same time that when she did turn 30, she felt exactly the same as me. So it must be a common thing. So just using this black to deepen away that Prussian blue. I feel like I need a little bit more here. You do need sharp pencils to get into all the bits and bobs of this, but you also need sort of a bit of a flat, blunt area that you can do some very light scumbling with, because if you do use sharp pencil, you're going to end up with harsh lines. So it's trying to get that balance right. See, normally, as you all know, I try and make everything very, very simple. And this background is not as simple as everything I normally do. And I can't really find any other way to simplify it than just to keep layering and layering, which you have to do with polychromos, really, because they're quite a hard pencil. It might be easier, in fact I know it'd be easier with Prismacolors, purely because they just blend into each other so easily, you don't have to work at it. But I think just judging from this little piece that we've done at the start, this is going to take a fair few videos to complete. I'm still not sure whether to do it all on video or whether to leave you with some to do in between times, and I'll do it as well. And we're not going to spend a hell of a lot of time and videos just doing exactly the same thing. Let me know in the comments how you feel about that. Should I leave you with some to do in between times? Because it's going to be about another week until I get the next video out, what with the kids being off school and stuff. So you might want to continue this by yourself. So I'm not really very happy with this. I'm hoping that it'll look better and less obvious as a mistake, you know, to the eye when the whole thing is done. And obviously we've got the white gel pens on there, but sometimes these polychromos pencils, they just don't like to blend sometimes. You have to be really careful with larger areas. Okay, so moving on, we will just carry on with this Prussian blue around the griffin's legs. And I think we'll fade it that way down to the leaves of the flower. So my son dropped the bombshell the other day that in a couple of years' time, when he gets into year 9, they're going on a ski trip to Italy. And he's actually not that bothered about going, but I feel like I want him to go because I never had the chance to go on these massive trips when I was at school, just because we simply couldn't afford it. I mean, I can't really afford it, to be honest, but it is a couple of years away, so hopefully I can save up the £800 that it is for him to go, which is a huge amount of money to me. But yeah, I really want him to go, purely because I didn't get the chance to. It's the same with everything, really. Any kind of trips or events, I always make sure he's involved, because I didn't get that when I was at school. I went on a few trips, don't get me wrong, but none of the big ones, you know, not the France or the Belgium or anywhere that you usually go in high school. Same with things like events at school as well, like if he's doing a play or an assembly or anything where parents are invited to come, I always go. Not being, you know, harsh on my parents or anything, but a lot of the time they didn't come to things like that, and I really want my kids to remember me and the dad showing up to everything and being involved, you know, which I'm in a lucky position that I can actually do. So yeah, that's how I kind of feel about the whole thing. As I say, Shane's not too bothered really about the trip, but I think he'll really enjoy it. It's because he's a boy, he's a bit like unenthusiastic about anything. He's starting to become a teenager. But honestly, I think once he gets there, he'll really enjoy it. He's never been on a plane before. We haven't been able to afford holidays. So I think that just that one element really will be an amazing experience for him. But just travelling abroad and being out of the country as well, I think he'll love it. So yeah, I've got to try and raise some cash in the next couple of years to get him to Italy. But yeah, schools, they like to drop these huge trips on you, don't they? He's actually going on a trip fairly soon to Warwick Castle with his history teacher. To be honest, this school that he's in are really good for trips and things. I mean, the primary school that he was in, which my younger son is still in, rubbish for trips. They hardly ever go anywhere. And since Shane's been at big school, at senior school, he's been all over the place. And I think they actually have a trip to Harry Potter World coming up in London if they hit their reading targets. So Shane's been reading, which is also fantastic because he never did much reading at all in little school. And I always hated that because I was such a massive reader when I was a kid. I really wanted to instill the love of books onto my kids as well. But yeah, now that he's actually got an incentive to work for, he's loving it. He's getting through loads of books. So just looking at this piece that we've done here underneath the griffin's legs, that looks absolutely fine. I think, honestly, the hardest bit about this is going to be fading out into the edges. Because obviously, when we're fading out here up to another edge of something, we don't have to worry about what that looks like. Whereas here, we're fading out into the white of the page and there's nothing to bump against. So I think that's going to be the hardest bit, but we are going to continue and we're going to see how we go with it. And if it turns out less than what we're expecting, then hey-ho. But we've given it a good shot anyway. I'm not very proficient at backgrounds. I know I just did that brick background in The Beauty of Horror, which turned out really well. But again, that's small sections, which are quite easy to complete. Bigger, sort of wider open spaces like this, without sort of barriers and limits for you to come up to, are much harder, especially with polychromos, to get a nice blend. So again with the black, continuing down around all of the different areas of the Prussian blue. and then using that Prussian blue very lightly to make sure that the black hasn't overtaken anything. And we've still got a really nice blue glow. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Just to see if it does look the same when we put our gel pen on, I'm just going to do this quickly. Because I do want to just see that it all matches up and looks right together. You don't have to do this until the very end, it's just me being a bit picky and wanting to see what it looks like, basically. So just doing some a little bit bigger than others. Wow, that really sets it off, doesn't it? It really ties it all in together. So if you thought that one of your sections is not looking the same as another one of your sections, for instance, I think that putting the white gel pen dots down really does bring it all in together and looks really nice and cohesive. So yeah, that was just me doing a little test, but we'll carry on. So let me know about school trips you went on and you enjoyed. As I say, I didn't get to go on many. Apart from, you know, like the local ones and stuff. I know that when I was in little school, I think, or maybe the first year of senior school, we went to London, and I can't remember anything about it apart from pigeons on Trafalgar Square, almost, attacking a girl, basically, who was stood there with pigeon feed, and that was quite funny. But yeah, I can't remember anything much about it, but, you know, we went on little trips to local areas, you know, local farms and things like that. So I'm not too worried, as I say, about going over these stars. I'll just come back in with some paint or some gel pen later and go over it. As long as you've got something opaque that's going to go over the top of coloured pencil. So it could be Jelly Roll pens. They do a Moonlight version, and they are actually really opaque, and they'll just go over anything. Or whether it's paint, like the Fine Tech paints. So I'm wondering now whether to go around this compass and sort of meet in the middle at the white, or whether just to glow it straight down like I did to the flower here. I might do that actually. I think it's going to be quite tricky to get blends going in such a small area, because I'm going to need quite a thick band of Prussian blue here, and there's not going to be a great deal of space to work with. I may sort of pick up this Prussian blue around this flower, or possibly up to underneath of the compass, maybe. We'll see when we get there. This is so much easier than doing those edges. Proper dreading those now. So any parents that have got kids, particularly boys, let me know whether your kids argue constantly, because my boys, they love each other to death, but you wouldn't know it to look at them, because they are always fighting, arguing. And I tell you what, the older one really should know better, but he doesn't, because he sort of causes it sometimes. But to be honest, it is Max, the little one. He's 9, and he's always been a bit of a tearaway, and he knows how to push people's buttons, knows how to wind you up, and he's constantly winding his brother up. But then again, Shane is very easily wound up, and he just keeps going and going, and he won't let it go. I keep saying to him, Shane, you know, if you just ignore him or just let it go, if he says he's better at this than you, just say, yeah, okay, and move on, instead of having to like, no, you're not, you know, and getting that kind of argument going. But he never can seem to do that. But yeah, they're just constantly sniping. It's like, you're breathing my air. It's ridiculous. I'm laughing about it now, but honestly, it can really drag you down sometimes when your kids are just at each other's throats all the time. I've got this friend who has 2 kids. It's a boy. She's got a boy and a girl, and they never ever argue. They're always doing stuff for each other, and they're like best mates. And I think, how in the world have you managed to accomplish that? Because my kids are just constantly... I mean, I grew up with a sister 5 years younger than me, and I know that we were always arguing. I don't think to the extent of my boys, but I know that she always used to annoy me. You know, she was my annoying little sister, and she wanted to leave me alone, and she was always following me around and annoying me. So it probably is fairly common. I know siblings often do fight in a verbal way. I'm not talking physically. But... yeah, what can I do about it? Is there anything I can do about it, or do I just have to wait for them to grow up a bit more? But yeah. Kids, eh? Love them to pieces, but they make you tear your hair out sometimes, that's for sure. Wondering how we're going to be this week with the school holidays, how much arguing I'm going to have to referee next week. But hopefully, I think it's given out good weather, so hopefully we can get the boys out and about, and they're always better when they're out, you know, doing things and distracted and not bored. How could they be bored? I don't know, with the amount of stuff they've got in this house, but, you know, kids, they just get bored easily. So hopefully we'll be out and about. See, that's the thing. If you live in most of America, you've got good weather all the time, so you can just go out and do things all the time. But here in England, you've got a very, very short window of good weather, so a lot of the time you are forced sort of to be stuck inside, which is boring for everybody, really. Oh, starting with the black there. Change to the Prussian blue. For areas like this around the claws, you will need to make sure your pencils are nice and sharp. So, have you been watching anything interesting on the TV or movies lately? Let me know. I watched 13 Reasons Why. When I was doing that brick page in Beauty of Horror, it basically took me almost the entire first season of 13 Reasons Why to finish that page. I've not seen it before. I know that I'm late to the party. And it was massive, wasn't it? Like last year or the year before. I just never got round to watching it. So I finished the first season now. To be honest with you, I'm not really bothered about it. I thought it was a bit rubbish, to be honest. I know it does have a lot of popularity, but there are also a lot of people who didn't like it as well. Very, very dragging, I thought. Don't know if you've seen it, but it did drag on and on. And the girl at the centre of it all really wasn't a very sympathetic character. So it made it hard for you to sort of feel sorry for her sometimes, which was the main point of the whole thing. I don't think I'll be watching series 2, which is odd really, because normally once I've watched one series or something, if I've managed to get through it that far, I do have to carry on and watch the rest. But no, I don't think I'll bother, to be honest. I think series 2 is getting worse ratings than series 1, so I might just leave it alone. But not sure what to start on next. I'm up to date on The Handmaid's Tale, which again is quite draggy, but it's still definitely better than 13 Reasons Why. I watched the first episode of Patrick Melrose. I don't know whether this is on in the US, but it's Benedict Cumberbatch playing Patrick Melrose, this character who is a drug addict, alcoholic. Set in the 80s. I believe it was a book, a semi-autobiographical book. And the first episode was brilliant, really. Benedict was fantastic in it. We all know that from Sherlock he can play a really sort of strange, drug-addled, minded person anyway. But he did really well in that first episode. As I say, I don't know if it's on in America, but it is on Sky One, I think so, or Sky Atlantic or something maybe, so you should be able to find it over there. But I know that a new episode's come out and I haven't had a chance to watch that yet, so I need to do that. Movies, I haven't watched any movies recently. Starting with that black again. I want to see the fourth Insidious. Is it The Last Key? I haven't seen that yet, so I want to see that. It's probably going to be rubbish because the Insidious films have just generally got worse as they've gone on. I thought the first one was brilliant, but I still want to see it. As I say, I like to sort of finish off series if I can. There's a new horror film coming out next month that was lauded at Cannes Film Festival. I think I've already spoke about it on here, called Hereditary, and the trailer for that looks incredible. So I can't wait to see that one. think that looks pretty good so far. Hopefully. Hopefully you guys think the same. And I'm not sure yet what we're going to do up here. So I'm going to leave it there on this side. Think about where I'm going to go next. Might be a case of just going around this whole griffin and doing him first and then deciding where to go from there. For instance, down here with the compass, as I say, I wasn't really sure whether to put black on and dark blue around the compass or not, but I think I probably will underneath this area of the compass. So what I'm going to do is do around the griffin first, I think. I'm going to make the decision. So I'm going to carry on around this griffin and fade it up that way towards the castle. What time are we on? Oh my goodness, 42 minutes and we've barely done anything. I told you this was going to be a long one. You guys wanted it. Let me know if you're regretting that decision now. The background decision. Okay, so I think what we're going to do, judging by the time, is we're going to leave it there for today. I'm going to ask you to finish off around the top of your griffin for next time. That can be your homework. I'm just going to add in these stars again because I don't like to leave it without the stars. So I'll add these in. And we'll be ready to go next time with the whole of this left griffin being coloured and complete. There we go, I think that looks lovely. And I hope you agree. So yes, finish off the griffin for next time and I'll see you on part 8 of this colour along. See you next time.